Welcome to our next lesson. This is working with vocational rehabilitation, a business perspective, and here I want to talk about business plans. And my objective for this particular module is to give you a sense of what a business plan is supposed to do and maybe some of the issues that you might run into when you're in the process of creating one. So if you're starting to embark on a business plan, it means that you've completed a feasibility study and your counselor supports you going forward. Basically, at this point, what's going to happen is instead of the qualified business expert writing a feasibility study and you supporting it with information, here you want to be the one that's actually writing the plan if you can. And I'll tell you why, is because you want to know exactly what you're going to do to get this business going. The QBE can support you. They can be a great guide to it. They can tell you what to do and what not to do. But really, you should be the one writing it if at all possible. If you have issues with writing the plan, the QBE can perform that function with your support. But at the end of the day, you have to own every bit of that. The plan is written as a narrative, which means it's written kind of a story. It basically says, here's where my business is now, or here's where I am now. Here's what we're wanting to do, and here are the expected results that if we do this, this is what we think will happen. But it's kind of like your business story. It says this is how we're going to do things and what we expect to happen once we've done those things, which is pretty cool. It's supported by facts, information, and data, and I think what I'm really trying to say here is stay away from the assumptions. Support what you say. Don't give your opinion and say, I can do this, or this is what I want to do, or this is what I can do. That really doesn't tell an objective reader much. What really tells them is, look, I've talked to 20 people, potential customers, and I've got 5 orders waiting if I can just get going. And you show that in the appendices, that you've actually got those emails saying, I would really like this product as soon as you can have it ready, type of thing. Those are facts. Those are things that you and I can both see as objective and validate those, versus assumptions, which are things which you say we think are true. You'd never want to start a business based on assumptions. And so as you go through the process of creating each of these sections, you want to verify that all of the things that you're saying can be true, and that another person reading it could validate those statements if they need to. In terms of the sections, there are really about 4 or 5. Executive summary is the first, and it's usually written last. It's kind of a mini plan of what we're going to talk about. The company overview, which is the business section. It talks about the management team. It talks about the business in its legal form. It talks about bookkeeping and risk management and who might be supporting the business in terms of an advisory team, these types of issues. And then there's a marketing plan, which is basically how we're going to get the product or service into the hands of our customers, how we're going to compete and what industry we might be in. And then there's a financial plan, which is basically, this is our startup projections, which I'm going to get into a little more detail here in a second. And then the last part is any supporting financial or supporting information that we may need to support the plan. But that's the big picture. If you take any business plan, it can be $1 million plan, it can be a micro business plan, it's still going to have these basic sections to them. Now, I want to turn your attention to these 2 sections, the marketing plan and the financial plan, because they are probably the most critical parts of the business plan. It's key for the startup because you're going from no customers to your first 100 or 500 or whatever the case may be customers. There's no guarantees that that's going to happen because you haven't done it before. And so for the person reading this, they really want to see that this is based on some sort of foundation that's real and that they can see it and understand it for what that is. You want to see it because it's real, and you know that if you take key actions and you make key decisions, it's actually going to work. I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's some risk to this. This is why this is so important. There's no guarantee you're going to get a customer. It's going to describe, this section is going to describe what we call the marketing mix, which are these 4 things: product, price, placement, and promotion. You've got the right product for the right customer, it's at the right price, it's going to be at the right place and time, and you're going to get the right messages out to the customer. This actually has been well researched and documented in the academic research on business. It started out in the 70s. This is what corporations were doing to kind of engage customers. And it's actually been shown that it works. If you do these things right, it works. You actually will make sales, and that's why we include it. So we want to describe these things in the marketing plan. My experience is you're typically going to have 4 to 6 marketing tactics. Marketing tactics are things like websites, brochures, networking, word of mouth, whatever it is that you use to connect with your customer. I say it this way because if you use more than 6, it typically overwhelms people. It's a lot to focus on, especially if these are things you haven't done before. So word to the wise, it probably take 4 to 6, and that's what you're going to start out with to get things going. And then right after all of these points are discussed, there's a month-by-month implementation plan where we go month by month and talk about the marketing steps that we're going to do each month. In terms of the financial plan, before I really get into the bullet points here, let me just say that a financial plan is a projection. It is not meant to be a crystal ball and that you're forecasting a future. The way to think about this is a pound of planning equals 2 pounds of cure or savings. I probably didn't say that right, but the idea is that 1 hour of planning will save you 2 on the ground, is what I'm trying to say. That's really what it is that time is your friend when you have a lot of it. When a problem's on your doorstep, you're confronting it right now, you typically don't have very many options. And what a financial projection allows you to do is to see problems coming. Seasonal patterns, or maybe you'll see a crunch if you've ramped up your business to a certain point. Whatever it is, when you really start thinking about what that projection's telling you, you can spot potential problems and solve them then. Rather than solve them when you're actually encountering them in real time. So that's the real purpose of a financial plan. I just want to make that distinction between that and predicting the future. It's not meant to predict the future. Typically, there'll be a couple of documents. We'll do a unit sales forecast, which is unit by unit over 12 consecutive months. Here's how much we expect to sell. And it really provides a good basis for showing that we've actually done some research and we know what we're going to be selling on a month-to-month basis. A cash flow projection. Cash flow is real money coming in and out each month. It's not IOUs, it's not credit. There are certain elements of your business that'll show up on a profit and loss sheet that do not show up on cash flows. And that's because cash flows act many ways like your bank account. But you want to make sure that money's coming in and money's going out in a sustainable way going forward. And that's what really this document does. Profit and loss looks at things differently. Profit and loss says, here are all our revenues coming in. Here's all the money we spent in terms of expenses, and either we made or we lost money that month or that year. And it's a projection, again, over 12 months. But there can be things in there that are not cash related. So that's the thing that separates the two. Profit and loss just says we brought more money in than we spent, or the opposite. Cash flow says we had enough cash coming in each month, then went out that month, and there's money left in the bank. Finally, you look at the startup costs based on your scenarios about how the business is going to perform going forward, how much capital is needed to get it to the break-even point. And we want these projections typically on a month-by-month basis for the first year, and then we want a summary of years 2 and 3.